Hi, thanks for tuning in. For those of you that don't know, this is my channel and it's about maximizing your business potential. So it's about scaling or changing the direction in which your business is going to make sure that you can reach the maximum number of people. This particular video is going to talk about how you can change your approach to business transformation. So this doesn't mean that we don't ever go back to the points where you look at people, systems, places, etc. But what this video will focus on is a few objectives that you need to go through before you start delivering your transformation. So I'll just go through them first and then we'll go through them in a bit more depth further through the video. So, what problem are you trying to solve? Clear objectives around the transformation. Why doesn't the business meet the customer needs anymore? What works well? What doesn't? How to set realistic timeframes. Continually check and change as you move along with something called benefits realization. So, what problem are you trying to solve? Every single business that begins is there to deliver a product or service that somebody feels they need or want to help improve their life. So why did your business start? What is it not doing now that requires it to transform? And how have you ended up in this position? Most people start to try and look too far ahead around what it is that they're aiming for before they've even understood what the objective was. Businesses change, things evolve, innovation comes, people disrupt. There is loads of reasons why businesses don't work. So it doesn't matter that you have to change, you just need to understand why it is. Once you've gathered all of that information and you understand what the customer needs, not what you want, but what they want, and you then need to start looking at the clear objectives. So how do you move from where you are today to where you want to be? So that won't happen overnight. You need to make sure that there's a clear strategy, but keep this very, very simple. What do your customers need and how do you meet the needs of your customer? The next one is very much around what works well and what doesn't work well. So quite often I see with transformations that you start in one position, you move across to your ended objective, so you have then transformed, but you often find that it doesn't necessarily do everything that you wanted it to do. The change doesn't necessarily come how you expect it to, mainly because people don't maintain the things that do work well. People don't take staff with them, they just tell people what is going to happen and this is how it's going to work. Don't forget, most transformations take place with the same teams that are delivering the business as usual activity and the new way of working. And they're supposed to juggle when this is going to move from one to the other. Which bits do they need to do today? How do they change? Do they buy into the change? Do they understand what it's trying to achieve? If you don't have that and you don't understand what is working well, what isn't, and what the expectations are, it will never be a success. Which is why 73% of transformations fail. The other part is that once people decide it needs to start, people move at pace, which is good, but they don't set realistic timeframes. So everybody is constantly chasing after themselves to try and keep up with the new timeframes. Set them realistically. Yes, they can be challenging. Yes, they need to be in as short a period of time as possible. But you need to understand that people have to go on that journey. Everybody needs to understand which part do they get involved in. When will they find out things? There will clearly be ambiguity and you can't answer all the questions all the way through because you have to learn it as you go. But you've got to make sure that the timescales are realistic so you don't set yourself up to fail before you've even begun. The other part is continually checking as you go through. So there is something called benefits realization. And this should be set from the outset. Generally what tends to happen is people put this at the end when they think, oh, we better just check that this has worked. This needs to start with setting your objectives and what your outcomes are. Most people generally find that as you start moving through a transformation, different people start suggesting new changes or different things that need to be part of the transformation. Now that can't always be the case. You have to have an objective where you start at one point and finish at another. Business as usual will move across and there will be continual improvement. But if you don't check what those objectives are, if you don't look back to say, are we now meeting the needs of the customers? Are we heading in the right direction? Is this what we need to do? Because people will often just carry on blindly, regardless if things are working or not. They will not take stock and change. Now, it's so important that if you're moving through a transformation and you see something isn't working, it's not going to meet the need of the customer. You need to pause, understand what that is, find a solution, and then continue. There is no point carrying on knowing that you can't achieve something, but carrying on regardless. I've witnessed firsthand times where people have turned around and they have said, we've spent £5 million now, we cannot afford for this not to succeed. To then go on and spend another £5 million to still not succeed because they were worried that they've wasted £5 million. You could waste 5, 10, 15, 20 million. It's irrelevant. If you do not get the outcomes that you need, there is no point carrying on. And you must understand the impact that has. It could be confusing for your customers, it could be confusing for your staff, and you find that you get to the stage where nothing has really been that successful. You've spent a lot of money, you may have changed from where you were to where you are now, but that won't necessarily meet the needs of your customer, and therefore the whole transformation is pointless. Now, hopefully you found this of value. I will go through on some of my other videos, or have done, around the key stages and how you set up a transformation to ensure you get the full buy-in and everybody can play their part within that, because that often goes wrong. But this one, the summary for me that I want you to take away is understand why you're changing, what the customer is looking for, and how you make sure you meet the customer needs. Now, hopefully you found this of interest and some value. If you did, please like the video, share it, and tell your friends about it. If there's anything in particular you want me to discuss or comment on around scaling up your business, changing it, some of the key factors that you find around difficulties that you've come across before, please drop me a line in the comments below, and I will gladly prepare videos and send them through to try and meet your needs. Thanks very much for watching.